Hello and welcome to my kitchen. So I am not gonna ever probably have some super fancy setup. This is just realistically how I am making things for my family, because a lot of friends and family and strangers on the internet are like, can you give me the recipe? Can you do this? And I'm terrible at writing down recipes, but I figured one of the things that is going to be easier for me is to record longer form content for here on YouTube, where you guys can see what I'm doing. I can talk you through and you can follow along. And then of course I have what a lot of people have been drawn to of my cooking is like my shorts and my reels that are on TikTok and Instagram, but I will try to redirect people. So if you are coming from there, welcome. I will try not to be so long-winded in the future and we'll just dive right in. But I figured I would say hello because it's been a long time since I've come on here with long form content for YouTube. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how you guys like this. I hope this will work out, and also give me some grace because I am also working on writing out recipes as I do them. But some of them, not gonna lie, I might have to look back at the video and see what I did and then be able to write it out. It is almost back to school. Kids start school, so that means we really need to get our lives together. There's a lot of things that I kind of want to make our lives easier for breakfast and stuff, snacks. I have a little list here of what I would like to accomplish for this week. One of the big major things that we will tackle in this is going to be the toaster strudel. But what I want to first do, I like to start with something super easy. I am going to try out making marshmallows. I want you guys to see really how I multitask this. I am doing the actual gut healthy marshmallows, not just your sugar-filled nonsense. So I'm trying this out. I got marshmallow root. It is a longer process item. Some of my things that have to go overnight or like in the fridge for a long period of time is what I think I'm gonna start with first. Okay, so I just have my weck jar here. I'm gonna go ahead and just fill this with my filtered water. I'm gonna fill it pretty much almost to the top. See, already messing that up. I realized, let me do the marshmallow root powder first. These are pretty generous. Third a cup scoop, probably about one more. I'm one of those people that I'm a little bit heavier handed, I'm not gonna lie, that I'm gonna do just a little bit more. About that much. I would say it probably equals to about a half a cup, a little over half a cup. And then I'm gonna go ahead and fill this jar with water. All right, it is nice and filled. Pop the lid on this, get it in the fridge, and see about taking it out this evening right before we go to bed to actually make the marshmallows, so then that way I can put it in the fridge and they can be ready for tomorrow. Want to have it at least, they said 8 to 12 hours, so I should have gotten a jump on this earlier in the morning, but it's okay. The reason we're doing cold, I want to give a little knowledge and background here. Let me know if you guys hate this and you're just like, just show me the recipe, don't give me why. Is doing it cold is going to give you more of the benefits that the marshmallow root actually gives you, versus if you do it hot, you can be killing off some of the things that make it so beneficial and gut healthy. The reason I'm making these are really good for like inflammation, your gut lining. And so obviously with my autoimmune and stuff, I want to try this in my gut health. Apron is on. It is time to now really get cracking. We are going to start with the toaster strudel pastry dough because it is going to be another thing that like we're working on throughout the day, and it won't be ready to actually like put together and stuff till the end of the day. First tip, put your butter in the freezer. So I went ahead and put my butter in the freezer because you do want it to be nice and cold. And so while that is happening, I'm just going to prep some of the other ingredients. So for the pastry dough, I'm going to try my best to actually measure and not just measure with my heart to give you guys this recipe. About 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I just want to point out that the reason I want to show you guys this without it being crazy, all of the things of like it has to be perfectly measured, is because that's what turned me off a lot of times, I'm not gonna lie, about cooking from scratch. Doing all this stuff was, I am just not that type of person. I like to do everything in my life the same way I cook, which is you put a sprinkle of this, you know, you listen to the ancestors. And so I want to show you guys that if you want to start being able to make stuff for your family, it is really not that intimidating as I feel like a lot of people make it seem. I also am not going to be coming out with some ebook and all this kind of stuff for you to buy. If I ever come out with something, you best believe it's going to be free, because I think that this is something that we should be just helping each other out in. If you really want to support me monetary wise, you just keep watching my content. Give it a like, share, comment. I'm fine with just making revenue off of the views. And of course, it would not hurt to have any sort of like sponsorships with companies I actually really believe in and use. But this isn't about the money for me. This is about really sharing my life and sharing it with other people and being able to give that knowledge to others. So it says about 1 teaspoon salt. I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to salt, I literally am the type, this is what I'm saying, me, throw it in. Okay, we're gonna leave that alone for now with my dry ingredients. Now we're gonna move on to the wet. I'm experimenting a touch in this recipe, so bear with me. For wet, we are going to do about a ½ cup of Greek yogurt. Get some buttermilk. This is where I'm kind of experimenting, because originally when I looked at things and a person, they had less buttermilk, I like more buttermilk. So I am going to experiment with adding probably about 3 tablespoons worth, and about a 1/4 cup of water in our little wet mixture here, just making sure I've got it. So buttermilk, water, Greek yogurt. Mix this. Go ahead and get ready with like your cling wrap and stuff. Here's my butter. It's equivalent to like, you know, the Kerrygold and stuff, rectangles, because this is where I'm not really measuring out versus telling you like I'm using pretty much about a majority of the stick's worth. This is also why it's important that it is cold, because what we are going to do, and like I said, I pretty much about fold it down to about how much I'm gonna use. So I'm using about that much butter into the flour. I want to move a little bit quickly here. You're gonna take the butter and the flour. You want to coat the butter with the flour, and kind of just really gently with your hands be separating it, just so it's not just one lump of butter in this. That's the point of grating it and everything, is we want it to be nice and flaky in here. But I'm doing this, like I said, lightly, not too much, because you don't want to warm up that butter. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make a well here. I'm gonna pour in our wet mixture, and before I really get to doing a dough whisk and things, I'm gonna go ahead and also lay out my cling wrap. We're gonna take this and you're gonna gently mix this together. We're gonna mix just for it to kind of come together and form a shaggy dough. You want to make sure that you don't have like dry bits of flour. Also take this out onto the counter, dump it, knead it by hand. But again, I'm working with limited counter space, so I like to kind of do this as much as I can in the bowl. And then I like to treat this almost like, for this last part, just to really make sure there's not dry bits, I'm gonna treat it almost like when you have tortillas and things. I'm gonna kind of take my hands and just kind of really make sure and knead it in the bowl. So I'm just kind of pushing, kneading it into the bowl, and just kind of really getting up any of those extra bits. It's pretty well combined. Go ahead and put it onto your cling wrap. I like to just basically take my cling wrap and make sure I'm wrapping it, that no bits are gonna come out. When I do this next part, this is just my personal preference. You see other people do it different ways. I like to do that and then just kind of push it out into a sort of best sort of square rectangle that you can get. And with this, we're gonna go ahead and put this into the fridge for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour. All right, next thing that I'm gonna go ahead and get set up, just because I already have buttermilk and stuff out, is some sourdough waffles. And so I'm just going to take my sourdough here. I'm just gonna pour some in. This is probably about 1.5 cups worth. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna go ahead and experiment a little bit too with this, because another thing about just being filling and things with the kids is we're gonna take that, I'm going to pour buttermilk. I did pretty much about a cup's worth, maybe a little less than a cup. I have this Greek yogurt that I'm trying to use up before I make a batch of my own. So let's experiment. I'm gonna go ahead and add yogurt to this. I think the only downside to this is that the waffles are going to in and of themselves be softer. They're not gonna be like crunchy or have that nice crispness to them, if you get what I'm saying. I could try to compensate with cornstarch, but having the Greek yogurt and these things that add that moisture in, I'm just gonna take about this much, is going to end up giving you a softer batter. I sort of do these like the viral Golden Diner. I looked at how he made it, and one of the things I thought was cool, so essentially he's fermenting the dough to add a little bit of flavor. So he's using his yeast and letting it sit. I have found, just in my own personal preference, this is why I say just experiment, you guys, don't just take a recipe to heart. I was like, wow, let's make this sourdough. So sourdough is already fermented, but I found that like letting it sit like this, I'm gonna add a couple more things, set it to the side, kind of how they do theirs. It just makes this really beautiful, beautiful, delicious waffle or pancake. If you make it like the Golden Diner pancakes, where you actually do it with like the pan and the oven, they are thick and beautiful and cake-like, but I'm just gonna do waffles for the sake of trying to really just crank out a lot of stuff that I have to get done and into our freezer so that we are having a really nice start to our school year. So anyways, with that sourdough, the buttermilk, the yogurt, we're gonna go ahead, let me wash, I have another dough. Mix this all together. I'm gonna now just add in a little bit of honey. This is about a tablespoon's worth, maybe a little bit more. Mix that in. See how it's like this sort of goopy thing here? It's probably about a cup's worth of flour. Plop it in and mix that in with this batter. This isn't about making it pancake-like consistency just yet. This is actually just going to kind of help give it a little bit structure, and again, just kind of in that fermentation. So I'm just gonna mix this. This is the consistency that you're going for, is kind of that literally like thick yogurt-like. Go ahead and just cover this and literally set this aside for at least an hour to kind of come together and again ferment. English muffins, a lot of stuff right now is a lot of dough prepping. So I'm gonna prep the dough for English muffins, and then we'll probably move on to Cheez-Its, and I am debating about Oreo cookies or like animal crackers. Okay, so actually while that is prepping, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the Cheez-It dough at least. I just have my food processor. I use the Ninja system that's got the food processor bowl and the blender and things. We're gonna go ahead, let me move you guys. I don't have a tripod or anything. We're gonna move you. No. Need a tripod for my, I am going to do about, just depends on how many crackers you want to make, honestly. I'm just gonna eyeball this. I'm gonna take about 2. We're gonna do a good amount of salt. I'm gonna go get my cheese. I am just going to probably use the cheddar that I've got in there, and I'm gonna grate it up and get it into here. Honestly, I like a good cheesy one that I'm gonna say almost equal parts the flour to the cheese, maybe a little bit less of the cheese. So we've got about this much of Gouda and cheddar. Here is just some of that butter that I had from earlier that I was grating. I'm just gonna use it in all kinds of stuff today. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut some into kind of some pieces. Crackers are really simple, and you can play around with them. Again, make it to what you want to do for your recipe. I'm just gonna put that much butter in. You guys don't have to hear this, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it onto the thing, let it kind of mix up in there, and then as it's mixing, I'm gonna slowly add in some cold milk. You're gonna do this very, very slowly until it basically forms into a dough. So again, when it starts to form like this, and you will see it do that, that's when it's time to take it off. It's like a nice moldable dough. Okay, so when it's a nice dough, like I said, it's not sticky and things, moldable, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of form this in my hands, kind of soften it, knead it a little bit into a ball. So it's a nice little ball there. Just gonna let it absorb the flavors. I'm not gonna put it in the fridge. I've learned my lesson with that because it's really hard to roll out when it is cold. But I am just going to wrap it, and it's another thing that I'm just gonna let sit to the side. All right, moving on to the next dough, Oreos. And this one I'm still kind of experimenting with, but I'm just gonna show you guys still kind of what I am doing. And I'm gonna say what I'm doing so that way, like I said, even when I go back, I can write this down if these are the ones. They were pretty good last time, but they can still have some improvement. So I am doing this similar to kind of how we do crackers. I am going to take some flour, add it to the food processor. Ooh, I forgot that's what I did last time. So I did some all-purpose, and then the next thing that I'm going to do is actually add in oat flour. So when it came to the all-purpose flour, I would say those 2 scoops are probably equivalent to about, I want to say I've got about 2 cups worth of all-purpose. And let's just measure this out. I'm going to try out a cup's worth of oat flour. You can kind of do probably whatever sugar you want to do. I am doing probably about so that's a cup. Say about a cup and a half's worth. Key for Oreos is to get yourself the actual like dark cocoa powder. Not just your little Hershey's chocolate cocoa, but the dark one. And with a good, this is the Dutch cocoa, sorry, I should say, but it's dark. But like, do you see how dark that is? Yeah. We're gonna add, it's a hefty 1/3 of a cup. Salt. Add a little dash of baking soda. Take my butter and melt it to add it in this time. About this much. Put this onto the processor, let this mix. I'm gonna pour in the melted butter, and then this time, last time I did water, I think this time to again let it still have some of that crispiness that an Oreo has, but also some of the softness. I'm going to try to just do the buttermilk and use that until it forms a dough. Similar to the crackers, where it's a little bit stickier, which is good because we do want some softness. We don't want it to be as hard as crackers. It's like this. We're gonna go ahead and get this into the fridge. Back to our toaster strudel. I know it's been at least a half hour, and so what I'm gonna go ahead and do, if you don't already, I highly suggest getting some rice flour. It's something that's really good with like the sourdough and everything, but it is such a great non-stick type of flour to use for surfaces versus your all-purpose. So taking that rice flour, because this is wetter than I would have necessarily wanted it to be, but that's okay. It'll still be good. I'm just gonna make sure it's got enough on these parts here. Roll this as best you can into a nice rectangle. This is about how you create some of those nice layers. It's almost like croissants. I can see the little pieces of butter and stuff in here. We're gonna go ahead and fold that over. Fold this over. Take a little bit more of that rice flour. Just on both ends here. Rolling this out Nice and low. And then I'm gonna take it my way. I don't. So again, we're gonna fold one more time. Put a little generous amount here again. And I'm gonna just put last one here, then I'm going to do it like this. Fold that in. And go ahead and just cover this. Get this back into the fridge for another 30 minutes, take it out, laminate it again. I'm going to do this for a process of about 2 more times, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do a little bit differently in that final time.
Seriously? My money? And now you're stabbing me in the back. Double.
So I put yogurt in these little yogurt cups right here because I feel like the kids always eat things if they're in cute containers. Don't ask me why it works for kids. It just does when they're in cute shapes, when they're in cute things. So there's yogurt. I need to still make granola for the yogurt. Right now I'm working on caramel for like caramel macchiatos and things like that. I want to try out doing a maple pecan coffee syrup. However, I realize I don't have a lot of maple syrup, so I don't know if I'm going to end up doing that one. I might just do like a brown sugar pecan type deal because, again, I'm trying not to really go to the store. I'm trying to really just work on habits of that, of just not always just like buying if you don't have to. It's not a have to. Okay, Cheez-Its. We've got, I can actually fully cross that off the list. Still need to make bars for the kids, so like oatmeal cereal bars. I've got tuna, which I'm just going to do a tuna salad because then that can go for like tuna melts, things like that, eating it plain to use up the tuna that we have. I need to make still coffee creamer. I am going to make buttermilk biscuit dough. I am trying out basically getting some of my baked goods, getting the dough and everything ready and frozen and prepped, and in that way that also makes my life easier than if we just want buttermilk biscuits. I have my own dough that I can just take out the night before and stuff and then be able to cook. So this is gonna be new for me, but I'm gonna try that out. I am going to make pizza rolls. I've seen both type. I've seen where people make literally basically kind of like a cinnamon roll, but it's a pizza roll. And then I've also thought about, do I make basically kind of like my own version of like a Hot Pocket? I don't know yet exactly on that one. That's one that, again, might run into tomorrow's cooking or like through the weekend cooking. I'm going to make muffins, the mini muffins for the kids, some scones, but those I'm going to go ahead and again make the dough and everything for the scones, get it frozen so that way when we just want some fresh scones we can have it. Thinking about also doing some bagels, but one of the things I am looking at right now is I am running low when it comes to my flours.
What is all of this noise? Is there a... What are you doing here? It's hair.
Oh, yo, this autoimmune ain't for the weak. My back and stuff is killing me. I'm starting to swell my joints, this the whole shebang. So I am going to listen to my body, not push it too much, but just finish up. So I'm finishing up on some caramel syrup, and then I am going to go ahead and make a butter pecan coffee syrup to have. I debated between vanilla and butter pecan, but I just really want to kind of get through and use some of these pecans and stuff that I got. So let me show you guys how we're gonna do it. All right, so in my pan, I'm gonna go ahead and add some pecans, what do you say? I am gonna turn this up to kind of a medium-high heat. It's gonna let it toast. You're gonna smell it. Basically let them get kind of toasty. Once you start to smell it get toasty, turn it down and we'll move on to the next step. I'm gonna also be sort of watching this caramel that looks like it wants to turn almost. These don't take very long, so definitely keep your eye on it. That it already started to smell like it was roasting. So I turned it down to about a medium heat. We're tossing it. And now I'm gonna take brown sugar. This is my homemade brown sugar. Is another thing that's super easy to start making for yourself. So mine's kind of light. I'm just gonna go ahead and add pretty much about a cup's worth. This is something that you can play with. Add as much or as little as you want. I would suggest doing the brown sugar though, because it's got the molasses and things in it, which is just going to create another little depth of flavor. But go ahead and just kind of toss pecans with the brown sugar. I kind of want you guys to get this in real time, so this is a little bit not really edited when you see this, because I just want you to see I'm really just kind of tossing it. I'm going to go ahead and use my water, and I'm going to pour that in. And give this a good little mix and mix. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down to about a low heat to really just let this continue to just like soak up, let the pecans let the flavor out, and just let all of that absorb. Okay, excuse the playing children in the background, but this is that final lamination I was telling you about for the toaster strudels. So, pulled it out on our clean surface. This is when we do want to be a little bit more trying to get it into the shape, but like I said, I am not as crazy about it of putting the rulers and really making sure it's like perfectly even. It's just not me. I am gonna start by just trying to kind of even it this way, which I found is like kind of roll it out. Go ahead and do a turn. Time again. Do one more for good measure of folding and creating layers here. But it should be giving you a little bit more leeway. To lift this up. Put it on top of some parchment paper. And this time, you're going to fold the parchment paper over, and then I'm going to literally fold this in those layers like that on top of itself. Just tuck the ends, and I'm going to get it wrapped. In the cling wrap. I'm going to put this in the fridge and either make this tonight, which probably won't be tonight just due to listening to my body. So it'll be in the morning that we take this out, roll it out, and actually get it done. That is home. So that's why all the chaos. But what you want to look for is your pecans are going to look very like faded. And so this has probably been for a good 15-20 minutes that it's just been steeping. They look like they've lost their color, like they've really just been soaking as they should have been and steeping in the liquid. So what I'm going to do is cheat just a little bit, and I'm going to use this butter pecan flavor boost type deal. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of that in. I'm gonna give it a quick little mix. And then I'm gonna strain the pecans from the liquid and get it into my jars. I am absolutely exhausted, but gotta keep going. I am putting some of the muffins, now they're cooled, into a freezer bag, and I'll put them in the freezer. We'll do about half in the freezer, and I'll keep about half out so that they have some for the next couple of days, because I know they'll go through these real quick. And then I'll take out this bag to let them thaw and then have them for next week when it is a school week and going to school, that they'll have some. So I'm just gonna go ahead and freeze this batch, put this batch in our little bread box. I'm working on some hot dog buns, broccoli cheddar soup, oxtails. Let's see what else we have accomplished. Yeah, I'm so tired. I still have more to do. Some of the other stuff is gonna be a little bit easier, that I'm making like doughs that will freeze and then be ready to just throw into an oven real quick. So like scones and stuff, I am going to make those and make the dough and freeze it. And then that way, that's another thing that's really easy to just make in the mornings and stuff like that, that you just throw in and just pop into the oven versus trying to make it all in one go.